Hey guys, it's Lyd and welcome back to another episode of Lyd versus K-drama. As you can see, I am experimenting with different kinds of editing styles, so hopefully it looks good. Today, I am so excited to introduce a new show on this channel called This Week in K-Drama World. As I'm sure you all know, or I hope you know, I'm only one person with life duties and responsibilities, so it's impossible for me to cover every single drama out there, even if I want to. But there's a lot of good stuff out there right now and coming out real soon. And the thing is, I am watching them. I just don't have the time to make in-depth reactions and reviews for every single one of them, which is such a waste. Or is it? If you're subscribed to my channel, you guys know that I have lots of thoughts for everything I watch, and I always want to hear yours too. And thus, This Week in K-Drama World was born. Here's a quick Q&A from the audience, and by audience, I mean me asking myself questions of what I think you guys would want to ask me. You know how in my reaction videos, I have like the thoughts and reviews segment after each episode? Well, if you didn't, now you do. Think of these videos as a curation of just those parts. I'll segment out the video with timestamps so you can skip ahead to the drama that you care about, or you're welcome to watch the whole thing if you're curious about what happened in each drama this past week. Regardless, this is obviously going to be filled with spoilers, so beware. No, I will only be highlighting the ones that I'm currently watching, but you guys are welcome to discuss whatever you want in the comment section down below. No, this is just my way of keeping the conversation going in between dramas. I'm taking a short break now that Vincenzo is over, but I will be reacting to another one towards the end of the month. Follow me on Instagram to get updates on which one it is. When I was covering Vincenzo, honestly, my favorite parts of making those videos was actually reading all of your comments. In my Q&A, there was this question that asked me what I liked about Korean dramas in general, and my answer was something along the lines of escaping my own life, my own world, and visiting someone else's. Hence, my logo is a rocket ship, and I'm hoping that this channel functions similarly, where we can all go together every Monday, and it will be covering the past week's worth of K-dramas. Absolutely, but to prevent this video from getting too long, I'll only include about like 6 to 7 dramas at a time, and also at the end of the day, these are the ones that I chose to watch. But who knows, maybe through everyone's comments I will somehow be convinced to watch like a scary thriller, which is so not my thing. So with that, let's get started. Please make sure to subscribe and hit that notification button so you know when these videos are up. Give me a like to help keep this rocket ship up in the air, and make sure to share this video with everybody you know watching K-dramas, and get ready to comment because that's what I'm here for. After a long but incredible 20 episodes, we said goodbye to Vincenzo and the Kasano Kumga Plaza family. I won't go into it too much with this one because I did cover this drama, but just some quick highlights. In the final 2 episodes, we had a very unnecessary death, which literally made me sob, and I'm still not over the death. And we also finally got to see the gruesome demises of our Babel X Usang team, which was cruel, but also pretty satisfying. And we got a kiss, and by kiss, I mean like kiss kiss. But we also didn't get like a hot air balloon ride to Malta and they hold hands and they walk off into the sunset kind of scene. But I mean, I get it. Vincenzo was never designed to have like a happy ending or anything. But still, all in all, whether or not you like the ending, Vincenzo was a phenomenal drama, and we're all going to miss it very dearly. Law School is amazing. I think it's my favorite one out at the moment. Like, I'm literally impatiently waiting for new episodes, which come out every Wednesdays and Thursdays. But I am also so sad to report that this week we will only be getting 1 episode. Why? I'm not too sure yet, but I just know I'm very unhappy about it. Just a quick intro in case you haven't heard of it or haven't seen it all over your Netflix feed. Law School is about a soccer team. Just kidding, it's obviously about a volleyball team. Okay, no, for real, the drama is set at a prestigious law school in Korea, and there's this professor named Yang Jong-hoon, played by Kim Young-min, who OG K-drama fans should recognize from Beethoven Virus. His nickname is Yankertes, and he was a former prosecutor who became a professor at this law school. He's like really abrasive and tough and like brutally honest, and you'll either sink or swim in his class. But what we're coming to know is that he is an incredible professor who really does care about his students, both in terms of their education and their well-being. We also have a group of first-year students that we focus on, but the two most notable ones are Kang So-ul, played by Ryu Hae-young, and Han-jun이, played by Kim Bum. I'm sure I missed the timing of this incredible reference, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Is this what Pora was doing in law school? To note, Kang So-ul is referred to as Kang So-ul A because there's another Kang So-ul who we call Kang So-ul B. So anyways, Kang So-ul and Junhee are kind of like polar opposites of each other in the sense where Kang So-ul just barely got into law school and she isn't the best student, whereas Junhee is basically number one. Really smart and kind of like Professor Yang 2.0. But grades aren't everything. Kang So-ul is like really passionate about like helping people with the law because she herself was a victim of it. And Junhee, this boy got secrets. Okay, so basically here's the setup. Another professor named Sebyung-ju, he gets murdered in the middle of the students' mock trial in like the back room. And then Professor Yang gets arrested as the main suspect. Kang So-ul and Junhee are kind of like the only students who firmly believe that he's innocent, and they work together to help him prove it. And the funny thing is, Professor Yang doesn't even seem all that pressed about proving his own innocence. If anything, he's using this whole murder trial to teach his students in real time and how they can use the law in real life. So that's the gist for the drama as a whole. Now let's get into the specifics for episodes 7 and 8. So what I really love about this drama is that they do this whole like it's not what it seems concept in a not so cliche way. I loved that they started off with the puzzle analogy in episode 1 because that's honestly what this entire drama really feels like. The more pieces you put down, the clearer the picture becomes. So we wrapped up and concluded that Kang So-ul B and her father are not the ones who murdered Professor Ha, although they did both contemplate it and even semi-attempted it. Her mom / his wife is so exhausting. This is why we have shows like Sky Castle. Like, parents are willing to do anything for their kids. But what we further saw here is that maybe not everything. Like, Kang So-ul B's dad actually first, he did pour the drugs into the coffee and he did want to kind of kill him because Professor Seo was kind of the reason why his wife made his life so miserable and therefore making also his daughter's life so miserable. But at the end of the day, he didn't do it. What he did do as her father was try to take the blame for the crime, thinking that she actually did do it. I think it sends a loud message of like, you doing anything and everything for your child's success, even if it means bypassing the law to get there, that isn't love. If anything, that's actually ruining the family. Speaking of family, we now delve into Seo-ji's story and the tragic way he lost his father. So the lesson that I really liked from his whole backstory is that when you're angry, you miss a lot of details. Seo was so blinded by anger against Junhee's uncle that turns out he had the wrong target all along. And Junhee, our cutie pants smarty pie with a little cute bowl cut, not only cleverly proves him wrong, which if you think about it is actually kind of crazy because this guy had a grudge on his uncle for like years and he even went to law school because of it, but he also helps him gain the upper hand in getting retribution for his father's death. I really love that scene with the two reporters and how Seo and Junhee kind of tricked them into admitting who actually did it, like who actually drove Seo's father to suicide. It just proves that like through this whole process, Professor Yang is doing a great job in teaching them how to really think and how to use the law well. I also can't wait to get into the whole backstory of Kang So-ul A and Kang-dan, her twin sister who is currently in the States. There seems to be a lot of people who want to get in contact with this girl, and I'm thinking she's an integral part of a lot of different threads. And lastly, the focus of episode 8, Chanya-sil. The show alluded to her abusive relationship for a while now, but I was just extra angry, extra pissed when I actually saw her shitty boyfriend being shitty. It's so heartbreaking because on one hand, it's like, girl, just leave him. Like, he stomps on your feet and slaps you around, drags you around, like, you know, all that freaking stuff for goodness sake. But then on the other hand, it's like people stay in abusive relationships for a variety of different reasons, whether it's because of the false sense of security that they get from the relationship or because they're being threatened. And I think the show does a really great job of showcasing the complexity of this with this character and her relationship. I was super proud of her for standing her ground in the courtroom, you know, as a future protector of the law, even if it was at the risk of her own safety and reputation. But then my heart sank when she wasn't in the room by the time Kang-sor A came back. Like, I knew she would leave, but I was still really sad when she actually went back to her boyfriend. And that ending, I mean, I'm not hoping he dies per se, but I'm just saying, if he stayed in a coma for a really long time, like, I personally wouldn't really be mad about it. And finally, we need Seung-jae to step up because he's the only one who can verify Professor Yang's alibi. That means he has to out himself as a cheater and will likely get kicked out of law school. But just like Yeser did, let's hope he makes the hard but right decision. A lot of requests asking me to like either watch or cover Taxi Driver, which should actually be translated as Deluxe Taxi since the Korean title is Mobom Taxi, but I kind of stalled on getting to it because it just seemed so dark. But my parents were binge watching it over the weekend and I was like, you know what? I will too. And we were hooked. Taxi Driver comes out every Fridays and Saturdays and it's basically about a guy named Kim Do-gi, played by Lee Jae-hoon. I like Lee Jae-hoon. He's like a consistently good actor. And he's like this naval officer, but then one day his mom was murdered by a serial killer. And soon after that, he gets recruited by this deluxe taxi company, but it's not like a typical taxi company, of course. It provides rides and revenge. If a client asks them to take revenge on someone for them, typically because of a wrongful death of a loved one, the company does it. The whole concept is really reminiscent to Vincenzo's actually. Both of them are providing justice and retribution in a way the law can't. They both explore the gray areas of society and they offer up their own ways of making it right, even if it is basically like a form of vigilantism. Also, I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but it kind of reminded me of Batman a little bit with the whole like underground cave situation and like the taxi is the Batmobile and you know like the mask and things like that. So anyways, like I was saying, I was hooked without really meaning to be or trying to be. Like I was just watching it because it was on the screen and I ended up watching all 10 episodes. It just follows like a really nice narrative thread and I think the show does a good job of like keeping the story moving and unraveling different things and making them all feel like separate stories and yet not. This past weekend's episodes were focused on like this voice phishing situation, which was honestly actually really funny. And I think it might be some sort of like spoof or reference to a film or something. But yeah, like the reason why I like this show so much is because it gives us vicarious satisfaction when justice is served. And it just makes me like further realize or like further confirms for me like some people are just straight up trash. That situation with Kohn's sister, I was so pissed, to say the least. Like at her boyfriend for selling that video, at the company for spreading it, and also at the police for not even like catching or stopping it. It made me think of law school and the end of episode 8. Like the reason why Yeser like, you know, was so adamant about her boyfriend not sharing that video is because she feared exactly what happened to Kohn's sister. She knew her life would be a living hell if that video ever got out. I think both of these shows are doing a great job in showcasing an area of the law that really needs reform in Korea, or maybe not even just Korea. Like just the internet is such a free place and with freedom comes many bad things. So through these situations, like we can see the dangers of the internet and maybe it'll encourage people to change it and make it better. I'm also really curious as to what will happen when prosecutor Kang Hana finally figures out what this taxi service is all about. I'd imagine she'd actually ask to join in because, I mean, we saw what her answers were like when she was trying to get into law school. Like her method of justice seems to heavily overlap with the way our taxi company functions. So who knows? Regardless, I feel like she's gonna find out real soon because she's always so hot on their trail. We kicked off a new drama last week called 5월의 청춘, or Youth of May, starring Lee Do-hyun and Go Min-ji, who I'm sure many of you guys know played siblings in Sweet Home. Youth of May is set in May 1980 during the Gwangju Uprising. Lee Do-hyun plays Hee-tae, a medical student, top of his class, really smart, really good looking, of course. Go Min-shi plays Myung-hee, a fearless nurse who stands up for others. The thing is, the posters and the teasers and all that make this drama out to seem like this really cute, pretty romance drama, which it is, but episode 1 starts off with like this really dark undertone. I'd imagine we're gonna have a lot of tragic moments and probably a tragic ending for this show. But for now, let's enjoy the cute romance between these two. I also loved the way Hee-tae and Myung-hee met. They just like briefly encountered each other like here and there, but I think my favorite scene has to be their blind date. So like Myung-hee goes on this blind date instead of her friend and tried everything to get Hee-tae to not like her, and he was all about it. Ambitious about your career? Great. Don't want kids? Your body, your decision. Don't care about my parents? Me neither. Everything just like backfired on Myung-hee, and it was simultaneously so cute and hilarious. Big props to the costume and set design teams. They really brought us back to the 80s in Korea, and also to the entire team for shedding light on actual historical events. I highly recommend going back and like doing a little bit of research on this if you're gonna watch this drama, but the Gwangju Uprising was a movement for democracy, and it's also when hundreds of students from the Cheonnam National University and supporting citizens like taxi drivers and people like that, they were massacred by military troops for protesting against the regime-like government. I think that movement is exactly what Suryeon, her friend, is a part of, and I feel like we really need to prepare our tissues for the next 10 episodes.
It's about to fall off. We are made.
And last but not least, today is also the premiere of Doom at Your Service with Park Bo-young and Seo In-guk. I know it's a highly anticipated one, so I am super excited to check it out. The Korean title is, sorry, I have to look at this because it's so long. 어느 날 우리 집 현관으로 멸망이 들어왔다, which literally translates to one day destruction came in through my front door. That is such a mouthful. I'm so glad we ended up with Doom at Your Service. Park Bo-young plays Dong-young, who's like this web novel editor, and Seo In-guk plays Myeolma, who's kind of like the middle guy between God and mankind. And one day, Myeolma enters Dong-young's life, and they make a 100-day contract. I'm not sure what the contract's all about, but I'm assuming it has something to do with like either living with each other or entering some kind of relationship or something like that. The teaser made it look super interesting. I mean, there seems to be a lot of comedy, but also a lot of heartbreak. So yeah, like this is literally a perfect K-drama. So yeah, episode 1 dropped today. I didn't watch it yet, but if you did, feel free to drop in comments down below or wait until next week's This Week in K-Drama World. I know I didn't cover everything, but these are just like top of my preliminary thoughts that I have of all the recent episodes. So if you have more to share, share away. I can't wait to see what you're all watching and all that fun stuff. I plan on also binging through Sell Your Haunted House this week too. So if you're sad that I didn't talk about it, come back again for next week's episode. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you back here again next week.